Jalen Parmalee here with Parmalee Post Rehab Exercise and Massage. This video I'm going to talk about what your posture tells me. I'm going to focus on the shoulder in this video and other videos that we'll kind of talk about, the hips and lower body. And this will also help you understand a little bit more about what's going on with your posture as well. So with that being said, the one thing that's important for you to know and understand is muscle moves bone. Okay, so I hear countless people say that they don't know why they have tension or pain because they don't do anything. They didn't do anything to get that pain or that tension. And why I say you need to remember that muscle moves bone is you cannot be in any position without muscles contracting and muscles relaxing. Okay, so even just sitting here, there's muscles being contracted and there's muscles being relaxed. Okay, so the hip flexors right now are in a flex position. Okay, so if I stay in this position for 8 hours every day for months on end, eventually my hip flexors are going to be tight if I don't stretch and release these guys. Okay, same thing with my glutes. My glutes are in a stretch position just from sitting here. So this stretch position for prolonged periods of time without strengthening, without releasing the hip flexors, that's going to cause glute weakness. That can lead to back pain, hip issues. Okay, so start thinking about that concept that just because you're not active in maybe exercise or doing physical fitness does not mean your muscles aren't working or activating. Okay, so another example too is you hear this all the time. You look down at your phone. So being in this position here, what muscles are bringing your head down in this fashion? Okay, so start thinking about that. So if muscles move bone, what muscles are moving my bones down this way? Okay, so we got these muscles in here, this SCM, sternocleidomastoid. So those muscles get tight. So any muscles involved in how you hold your position throughout the day or exercises you do or anything is going to lead to dysfunction down the road if we don't have an even balance. Okay, so if we don't stretch and release what we need to stretch and release, and we don't strengthen what we need to strengthen. All right, so wanted to say that because it's very important for you to get that concept. And with that being said, we'll kind of go into these images here. I have two different images really kind of telling the same story. This one here, so if a client comes in with this posture, it's very common. It's a medially rotated shoulder. So what a medially rotated shoulder, how we can tell is the backs of the hand. So if you look in the mirror and you see the backs of your hand, that's a sign that you have this going on up in here. All right, so what muscles are doing this? I'll automatically work on the pecs if I see this posture. So you're going to have some pec tension in there. So pec major, pec minor. You're going to have some subscapularis tension. So the muscles on this black space right in here, those are the subscapularis. That's a rotator cuff muscle that does medial rotation of the shoulder. Okay, and you also have your supraspinatus, which is on the back of the shoulder blade, more on the top of it. That's another rotator cuff muscle that does internal rotation. And we have your anterior deltoid as well. That's going to most likely be tight in a medially rotated shoulder person. Okay, so that's one of the first things I do. If I do notice this, I work on those muscles. If you notice that you do have medial rotated shoulders, then those muscles are absolutely what you need to start doing as far as muscle release and stretching. Make sure you're releasing and stretching your pecs, especially because they are contributing largely to this posture here. All right, so that's that. The next one I want to point out, there are more muscles involved, but the main ones I know will have tension are going to be your pecs, subscapularis, anterior deltoid, and supraspinatus. Okay, just from that posture. Now, the next thing we notice is we have elevated shoulders. Okay, so elevated shoulders, you can see that this shoulder is higher than that shoulder, this shoulder is higher than that shoulder. So we think if muscle moves bone, what muscles are moving your bones up in this fashion. And the large one here we're going to see is the traps, so the upper traps. You actually have 3 traps, so you have upper, you have a middle, and a lower. The middle and lower trap often get stretched from tight upper traps. Okay, so these are pulling you up this way, and these get stretched upward. All right, so they get weakened, which can leave you with some upper back pain, upper back tension. You get riddled with knots from this posture right in here. Okay, so trap tension is one, and your traps attach from your shoulder all the way up into your neck and up in here. And another one that's you can't really see, well, you can't see at all, are your scalenes. So your scalenes are going to attach to your cervical spine down in there. So these get tight a lot from head forward position, or if you're looking that way, quite a lot, and out and down. So these are ones you won't really necessarily feel, but you're going to want to address them if you do have this posture here. So headaches can be common from this posture, just shoulder pain. So it can be hard to raise your arm without engaging your traps. So these guys will get nice and tight from you trying to raise your arm to compensate for weaker muscles that are attached around the scapula. So you get very weak scapular rotation. We can see that with this posture, we can see this is a little bit more tricky. So we don't know if this side is normal, or we don't know if it's weak necessarily. So one of the things I do is if someone comes in with this posture, we work on both sides. This side will most likely have knots and tension as well. You may not feel them until I press on them, but you most likely will have some knots and trigger points on this side. And another thing that I also work on if I do see this posture are the lats. So your lats are going to be these big old muscles back in your back. So they're going to attach in this manner here. So just all through down there. And basically, if you get this posture, we can determine if your traps are tight, if your lats are tight on one side based on what I'm feeling and based on what you're feeling. Okay, so that's pretty easy to feel if there is significant amount of trap tension. And I can also have you move your arm around as well to see if you have limited range of motion on this side. So those are some ways I can tell. It's a little bit harder to tell by just looking at your posture if there is some added tension on this side. But like I said, there's a few ways I can kind of see if that is an issue. So that's a little bit more tricky. But another thing that you can see, I don't want to get into it too much right now, but you have an elevated hip. I just want to keep it the shoulder, but elevated hip, a lot of it's going to be coming from this quadratus lumborum here. I worked on this on a lot of you. This is going to pull your hip upward like that in this fashion. Again, it's not just this muscle involved, but this is one that will 100% be tight if you do have this posture right here. So that could be contributing along with your lats. So you just got a bunch of things that need to be addressed when you do have this type of posture. This is easier to see when someone's on the table. So like I said, it's not something that you can necessarily pinpoint while the person's just standing in front of you, unless they're really standing like a certain way. So once they got on the table, though, you can kind of see if their hips are a little bit uneven on either side. So that's really what guides me to the QLs. So again, this posture is saying a lot, and it's probably presenting this person with a lot of issues, especially in shoulder range of motion. They probably have shoulder pain, maybe some possible impingement in there, and headaches, neck tension. So it's just an onslaught of issues come from having this posture. You can see here that this side is being shortened. So the rhomboids, middle trap, lower traps are probably riddled with knots on this side. And the cool thing about what I do is if someone comes in with a posture like this, and I start working on the muscles, is more often than not, we're going to start seeing your shoulders become more and more level. Okay. So we start releasing all the muscles around here, the shoulder, and these guys start becoming more level at the end of the massage. Okay. So it's apparent that there is significant tension. We address the tension, get some release, and then your shoulders become more level. All right. It depends on how long you've had the unlevel shoulders, and how much work needs to be done, but more often than not, we're able to get a little bit more level shoulders. Same with your hips. So that is one thing that's cool about being able to work on the muscles, because you can see the impact that massage plays on them. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But to end it, just want you to remember your posture can tell you a lot of things. So look at yourself in the mirror, kind of think about what you do throughout the day that could be causing the posture or muscle imbalance that you are having. Just for me sitting like this, my traps are being activated. So my traps are being shortened right now. So if I hold this position for 8 hours a day, just 5, 6 days a week, eventually I'm going to get significant trap tension in here, which could lead to neck pain, shoulder issues, etc. if I don't stretch and release these guys up in here. Okay, so if you're sleeping on one side, if your neck is like this, okay, when you sleep, you probably have a lot of tension on this side here. So what do you need to do? You need to wake up, stretch your neck. So get a nice long neck stretch to kind of stretch out all of this that was getting shortened while you were sleeping. Okay, because remember, muscle moves bone. I cannot get in any position without muscles activating. Okay, so it's not about how active you are or how hard you work out or any of that. It's really about the position you're in throughout the day, how long you're in that position, and what are you doing to reverse that position. So what are you stretching and releasing to help relieve that tension. Okay, and another thing I'll point out too is you don't always have to have even workouts. Okay, so if you notice you have imbalance or unlevel shoulders, you don't have to work this side out. Okay, you can work on the side that's weaker to kind of build that up, and work on stretching and releasing the side that's tight or dysfunctional. Okay, so it's not always about having to do both sides when you exercise, or worrying about both sides when you stretch. You really want to focus on balance. Okay, so if your body's imbalanced, you make it balanced by doing the things that your body needs. Okay, at the end of the day. So that is everything I wanted to touch on today. Like I said, we'll talk a little bit more about this posture. This is very important to address, I think. So we'll talk about that next. And then, yeah, if you have any questions, shoot me an email, and I will see you on the next video.